because if you don't do that, Robert, there's a good chance you're not here today.
100%. Without the injury, I'm not alive. At least a very, very good chance that I'm not alive, or in a position where most people say, you wish you weren't alive. But that day, it just was ringing, and I had to answer the bell. I had to do it, and it saved my life. It truly saved my life. And that's why I have energy, because I'm filled with gratitude. I'm thankful that all these things lined up that led to me having a second chance at living.
Welcome to Limitless Minds, the podcast where curiosity meets greatness. If you're ready to discover what it takes to be truly limitless and push beyond your own limits, you're in the right place.
Welcome back to the Limitless Minds podcast. That's right, Josh, we've got DJ and Harry locked up in the back room because we're taking over the podcast once again this month.
Back over.
Yeah, the door's pounded. We're not letting them out, right? This is the Success Leaves Clues podcast. Really excited about our guest that we have on today, Josh. And before I introduce him, he actually is with Johnson & Johnson, an organization that we've had the opportunity at Limitless Minds to do really wonderful work with. And the way that we found him is pretty dramatic and traumatic, and super grateful to have him on today to share his story and talk about the mindset behaviors that helped him kind of go through this ordeal. I'll talk about that in a second. But before we do that, Josh,
Nooch Nuggets,
right? It's all about that neutral thinking, staying Nooch. I'm going to dip my nugget in a little buffalo sauce today. Is what I got. My Nooch nugget and buffalo. All right, Josh, here's my Nooch nugget. My Nooch nugget comes to you from Saturday night. I'm with the St. Louis University men's soccer team. You know, I'm on the sidelines. We're playing a game that we probably should have won on paper handedly. We find ourselves down 1-0 with 20 minutes to go. You're kind of feeling the emotions from the players, from the coaches, but you know, people aren't going negative, but it's a little bit of a shock. We tie up the game. We go up 2-1, 12 minutes left. It looks like we're going to see this out, get 3 points. And then a brutally horrible call. The referee gives a gift of a PK with 2 minutes left. They even go review it, and he doesn't overturn it. It's just, objectively, it was a garbage call. It was a garbage call. And in that, so, like you're starting to go, I can't believe this is going to happen. I can't believe. But, just kind of like, all right, it is what it is. Our all-conference goalkeeper saves it.
Come on.
Saves it.
Ball don't lie.
Ball don't lie.
Don't lie.
But here we go, Josh. We win 2-1. It was a super emotional game. Both teams, you just you go out in the field after the game. Well, it got heated. It was a little bit more than a scuffle. A couple of guys got thrown around a little bit, some throat grabbing and things like that. And I physically find myself in the middle of this, fracas that's
sounds like you need our next guest.
I needed our guest with some jujitsu,
but black belt.
But just noticing, right, with literally, it's like metaphorically and physically, to be in the middle of all that emotion and like having a choice, like, because like I could have easily gotten in there and been like highly emotional and taunting or just, adding fuel to the fire. And it was like the neutral in me was like, stay neutral, separate, right? Separate, diffuse, get our guys out of here, get them out of here, diffuse the situation, don't engage. The invitation was there over and over again to engage. And it was like, no, stay neutral. What's the next right step? The next right step is don't escalate, remove the players from the scene. And so not a fun experience to go through, but obviously a really, really great opportunity, not only to stay neutral on the sidelines, but to stay neutral in the middle of a potential brawl.
That is a spicy neutral nugget.
It was a spicy one. That's why it's got the buffalo sauce.
Buffalo sauce. It could have been a jalapeno ranch, whatever. So good. All right, my Nooch nugget. Honestly, like one of the times, one of the things we do with Nooch nuggets is stuff we've observed out in the world, and I'm going to stay in the soccer world.
Yeah.
And my favorite team, don't hate people who are listening, the Gooners, Arsenal is playing at Newcastle this weekend, and they beat Newcastle United 2-1, but they were down for about 50 minutes. And what was interesting is they scored in the 84th minute. And I love doing this. I love watching And it's fun to do. You see the highlight, you see the goal in real time, and you're like, oh, awesome. But then you see all the replays, and they have replays from all over. And I love watching the other players around and seeing their reactions, their hands going up in the air and stuff like that. But Arsenal scores, and they're playing Newcastle. They're at Newcastle. It's a really hard environment to play in. So they score, and two players, the one who scored runs to the guy who passed it. Mikel Merino runs to Declan Rice, and they're celebrating in the corner. And everybody else is like, get the ball. Yeah. We can win this game. It's not about, hey, we tied it, but there's still 6 minutes plus stoppage time left. We can win this game. Let's go win the game. And that was their mindset. So they stayed neutral to stay towards their mission. Of course, my favorite player on Arsenal, Gabriel, scores in the 95th minute. Boom, header. Classic Gabriel goal. And, Arsenal takes down Newcastle 2-1. They haven't beaten them in St. James's in 6 times or something like that, 6 years. Spectacular. But that reaction of after the first goal goes in was quick celebration. But then what's next? And you saw everybody to a man. Trossard's pointing. Ezra's pointing. Everybody's pointing, hey, get the ball, let's go. Saliba runs in, grabs the ball, and they run off to get the ball going again, and let's get the next goal. I love that. So it's a heart of a champion, mindset of a champion.
I love that. And it actually reminds me, Josh, of
a second place team that they've been for the last 5 years, it seems like. Whatever.
Going back to Saturday night, when we concede the goal to go down 1-0, there's only 20 minutes left, and you could hear a pin drop. It's a home game, right? And the players on the field, the St. Louis players on the field, they grabbed each other and huddled up, right? They huddled up on the field, and it was just this great moment of they didn't separate, right? They didn't go solo, they didn't go individual, they didn't go internal, right? They grabbed each other, they pulled each other in, and they focused on the response.
Yeah,
right. They focused on the response. They scored 4 minutes later. Right. And then got the go ahead goal, 10 minutes after that.
That's awesome.
And so, it's just great to see. And it's like, it's, all you have to do is, watch sports, and, you get all these beautiful opportunities to just see mindset and neutral thinking in action. So there you go. There is.
I don't know what I would have dipped Arsenal in. I guess I would have dipped Arsenal in like a lager.
A lager. That's true. That would have been appropriate. Yeah. A lager. Yeah. With some mash.
Sure.
Some bangers, some bangers.
Why don't you, or bitters? Maybe I'll into a bitter. Why don't you introduce our guests? Because enough about us talking about soccer. This is not the freaking men in tights soccer podcast.
Hey, who covers it better than we do, Josh?
Come on,
nobody.
We've had a couple. We talked about Trump on the stand after the couple of Runners Cup, and anyway.
Yeah. I guess we are bound to get a footy player or two on the podcast here eventually. But that is not who we are talking to today.
No.
Josh, we're super excited today because we're talking to Robert Story. Now, the way we found Robert at Limitless Minds is Limitless Minds. We work with a few of the teams at Johnson & Johnson, and shout out to Denise Story at Johnson & Johnson. And we were working with her, planning some training that we were going to be doing with one of the teams there. And we find out from her that her husband is in the hospital. He's in a coma. He's fighting for his life. And here she is still planning this event with us. And she's giving us day-to-day updates about how her husband is doing. His name's Robert. And we're super grateful he survives the ordeal. He had an aneurysm. He survives. And then a few months later, we're back, at Johnson & Johnson, and we get the opportunity to have dinner with Robert and Denise and their youngest daughter. And I was expecting to see sort of a frail kind of, maybe sickly, person who's still recovering from a life-threatening situation. And in walks this beautiful man, this beautiful, strong-looking man, just bright, joy, vibrant, and just had the opportunity to have a couple of hours with them, having dinner and hearing about this journey and this experience. And as I was talking to him, Josh, I'm just like, people need to hear this story, because this isn't just about, hey, I got lucky. And, this was about mindset. This was about behaviors. And this was about These are ideas and principles that are applicable to everybody. And so without further ado, please welcome to the Limitless Minds Success Leaves Clues podcast, Robert Story. And once again, this is the Limitless Minds podcast. What series is it, Josh?
Success leaves clues. They leave clues. Success leaves those.
Leaves
clues everywhere. That's a funny joke for you and I. If people haven't been listening to the podcast, they have no clue why I couldn't remember clues. The word clues.
He did remember it.
He just, in the other pods.
He just stumbled. You do. If you want to get we have carryover jokes, Robert, from one podcast.
I like it.
Yeah, we circle back. That's like comedy 101, right?
Long callback.
You circle back.
All right, we're here. We just we told you a little bit about Robert in the intro, and Robert, thanks so much for taking time to be on the podcast with us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, Robert, I got the opportunity. It's fun, the way that we come across guests to be on the podcast in so many different ways. But it's not often that, because of the work that we do with Limitless Minds, that we work with so many amazing organizations and clients. And the reason we're talking to you is because not only do you work at Johnson & Johnson, but we were doing work with your wife, Denise, at Johnson & Johnson, and we were preparing for some workshops we were doing when we found out about just a real traumatic situation she was going through. And that was with you and your health, and literally not sure if things were going to be okay. And so here we are trying to kind of plan this event, but just our heart was going out to Denise. Our heart was going out to you, even though we didn't know you yet. And then we're getting more details as it goes on. And obviously we find out that you're okay. And so I will be completely honest, Robert, when we met you at dinner a few months after this ordeal, I was expecting kind of a weak, recovering individual to come through the door. And what I was met with was New Jersey Brad Pitt.
I listen. I know you've been saying this. Travis has been like, Josh, you're going to meet New Jersey Brad. I'm saying New Jersey Colin Farrell. He's got a little.
All right, I'll take them both. I got a little bit of Irish.
Right? You would take either one of those.
That's great. No, thank you.
But Robert, again, I joke about your handsomeness, but what I was blown away with was your energy. And really your joy, Robert, your joy. And, I was expecting to see a little bit of someone who was maybe kind of like, just trying to get back to 100%. And you came in, I was like, dude, this dude is 150%. Like, you would never have known that you had gone through this ordeal had I not been told the story. And so, Robert, just to kind of start things off, can you just talk about, you gave me some of the details when we were in person, but just what that, if you could encapsulate that experience a little bit, how are you processing it right now, which is really not that far removed from it?
Yeah, I'm just filled with gratitude. I see so many other people that I've known in life, or stories that you've heard, where things don't go in the right direction. And so many twists and turns led me to being okay. It's funny, like when I was reading your book, where you talked about that battle with your inner self to send that book to Greg.
Yeah.
So you had that doubt, but you went ahead and you engaged and you sent that book, and it led to changing your life. With me, it was a Tuesday morning, and I did not want to go to jiu-jitsu. We have a battle. It's called the inner expletive. I don't want to use the word, but we kind of use that in the community. Either way, I did not want to go. I forced myself to go. By the time I got there, my main coach had recently had a vasectomy, and he's sitting down and he said, I cannot coach. He said, I can't do it. So we had
like that morning he had the vasectomy, or was it like
not that morning?
In the back room, just in the back room.
Just in the back room. They're tough. These guys are tough. They got guys back just sharpening the knives.
Yeah. Sharpen the knife, bringing out typical kindergarten scissors.
Snip and go. There we go.
Kindergarten scissors and a vasectomy.
The ones with the green handle.
That is not success. No, that is not success leaves clues. That is pain.
Success leaves scars right there.
That's right. So he says, there was a young cop there, brand new cop. And he says to him, okay, what do you want to learn today? And he says, my takedowns are horrible. And then so George, who's the coach, says, hey, we have a judo black belt here. So he points to me and he says, Rob, you teach the class. So I started talking to the cop, and immediately I get this rush in my heart that I'm saying, this is a young kid. I do not want him being in a vulnerable situation on the street. So I immediately started calculating, okay, what type of takedowns am I going to teach him? What kind of immobilization techniques so that he's going to be able to hold the suspect and yet still be able to call for help and buy that time. Mm-hmm. So I put together the program. I'm teaching the whole class. I'm dealing with a 250-pound VA Veterans Administration cop, a 240-pound who looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin air marshal, and I'm drilling and drilling and drilling. And as I mentioned to you, I did not want to go because my body was tight. And all of a sudden, I feel something in my shoulder. So this pain would not go away for about a week. Yeah. It was unbearable. So finally, I go to Denise and I said, Denise, I'm driving myself to the emergency room. I can't take this anymore. Now, I go to the emergency room. I'm bonding with the intake nurse, who I felt was a mixed martial artist as well. And I said, because I kept having an epiphany of my mother. Mm. And my mother has had small aneurysms. Okay, so her face was in my mind. It wouldn't stop. So I say, listen, I've got some history. While I'm here, can you just give me like a brain scan? He said, I'll hook you up, man. I'll hook you up. It has nothing to do with your injury, but we're going to hook you up. Don't worry. So I go in there and they're trying to give me some medicine to keep the shoulder okay. And then they come in, they say, listen, man, you have pretty much the largest aneurysm we've ever seen. They said, we can't take care of you here. We need to get you in an ambulance right now and send you to the ICU at Jersey Shore. So while I'm there, I'm in the ICU. They're looking at me. They're trying to find the quickest time to give me this surgery, which was going to be a craniotomy, and then put in as many clips as they could, because the way this aneurysm was described to me is that it's in the shape of a shamrock. Okay, it's in the shape of a shamrock. So they went ahead. They finally set the schedule. You know, they keep me in the ICU. They're having the surgery. And on that day, it ruptured. It blew up.
While you were there, Robert.
While I was there, thank God. It sent me into a coma. Coma lasted 4 days. They went ahead and they sealed up they put the clips, titanium clips, into the shamrock-shaped aneurysm. I finally woke up. And oddly enough, I woke up on St. Patty's Day. So a shamrock to another shamrock. So
why not?
I woke up 31 pounds lighter.
Wow.
I was relatively muscular. It all went away. I had a haircut like Kim Jong-un. They shaved it all away to do this craniotomy. And so waking up was a harrowing experience where it was just like, wow. And I was super weak. The way that you felt you were going to see me, extremely weak at that time. Left side semi-paralysis, because the aneurysm was on the right side, left side very weak. And so that's it in a nutshell.
What was when you what was kind of the prognosis as you woke up? I mean, you woke up and you're, thin.
Yes.
You have paralysis on your left side. Like, are they like, yeah, this is all going to come back, you're fine? Or like, oh man, we don't know which way it's going to go?
Great question. They said it was a successful surgery and that with a lot of hard work, as long as there's not nerve damage. Another doctor had told me, so he said, if there's weakness, you can get it back. If you don't feel anything, it's going to be difficult. So I did feel everything. I just knew I was super weak, and that when I got cleared for rigorous exercise, which I waited with bated breath to get cleared to lift more than 10 pounds at the 3-month mark.
Huh.
And then I started hitting the weights. I'm back to martial arts now at about the 6-month mark now, post-op. But yeah, there was some optimism when I woke up. They felt it was a success. There's nothing you can do to loosen these clips. And now you just have to get your life back.
Now, Robert, one of the things that I think really struck me when hearing your story is I feel like you're someone who, whether it's that inner voice or whether it's intuition, right? You have a strong sense of sort of listening to that inner inspiration, and it started kind of that the day to even decide to go to jujitsu that day, right? When there's part of resistance was kind of telling you, no, just
Mhm.
phone it in for the day. And then you go there. Not only do you go there and get through the class, you end up sort of selflessly taking on, leading the class. And I think you told me in more detail originally that you knew that you were basically signing up to teach a class where you were going to get your butt kicked all class because you're
Yeah.
teaching this guy how to do
Yes.
takedowns, and you're the dummy, right? You're
Yes,
the
that's
dummy
right.
that he's taken down for an hour, right? And so, and then obviously as a result of that, you feel the pain in the shoulder. You go to the hospital, and then like you said, while you're there, it's not like you had a headache and you're like, hey,
No.
let me get my head checked out. You talked about seeing your mom. You kept seeing your mom, thinking about
Yep.
her. Tell us a little bit about just that still small voice, that intuition, because if you don't do that, Robert, there's a good chance you're not here today.
100%. Yeah, it's listening to the inner voice to be tough and go to jujitsu that day, listening to the inner voice to care about that cop. But then in turn, we can never just train one person. You have to show the whole class.
Yeah.
So putting myself out there, and then even with the big guys, not being afraid to go at it with them, which led, of course, to that injury. Without the injury, I'm not alive. At least a very, very good chance that I'm not alive, or in a position where most people say, you wish you weren't alive.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because they say about 70% of people who have a ruptured aneurysm pass away. The other 30% wish they would have. It's a very silent killer. It's scary. So recognizing that injury saving my life, recognizing sitting there in a very calm state, seeing my mother's beautiful face. She's almost 80. She's a beautiful woman. And I just kept seeing that face, kept seeing that face. I said, you know what? While I'm
While
here.
I'm here, hey, why don't you poke and
And
prod
it's
me a
because I
little bit
wanted some
more?
peace of mind.
Yeah.
Because what's funny is where I had another lower abdomen injury about a year and a half before. So they give me the lower scan. And I remember on the report, it said no aneurysm.
Mm.
So I extrapolated thinking, oh, that must mean I don't have an aneurysm in my brain either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never did anything about it.
Yeah.
But that day, it just was ringing and I had to answer the bell. I had to do it. And it saved my life. It truly saved my life. And that's why I have energy, because I'm filled with gratitude. I'm thankful that all these things lined up that led to me having a second chance at living.
Without a doubt, it's a remarkable story, and we often say man plans and God laughs.
Yes.
Here's something taking care of you, man. And I
Right.
think it's interesting too, because originally I thought the shoulder was because of the aneurysm, but what I'm hearing
Yeah.
is that the injury was completely separate from it. So here you
Nothing
are,
to do
you're
with
just
it.
at the hospital, and you're like, hey, wait a second, I keep seeing my mom here. I know she's had aneurysms. I think this is a sign. Let me follow
Yeah.
that gut. Let me follow that intuition, and let me get a scan.
That's right.
So really, it just kind of incredible. But I think one of the things too that's really remarkable about this whole story, and it's a little bit buried. You're a black belt in judo,
Yes.
and you're doing jujitsu as well. So I think this is the Success Leaves Clues podcast, and so you had a lot of clues that led you to, being on this earth still.
Mhm.
But the other part of it was, like here you were a highly successful, highly disciplined person. I mean, if you have a black belt in anything, that doesn't happen by accident. Let's just put it that way. Trevor Moawad, our former founder, used to always say, the person on top of the mountain didn't just end up there.
That's
They
right.
did something to get there. So for you, what was, that mixed martial arts area, that
Mhm.
whole background, I think that's kind of an interesting area to explore as well.
Yes. Yeah. It's something that's a passion of mine. I love teaching other people. And I really have, like you see in Travis's book, it's about being vulnerable. When I first started that journey, I mean, I grew up wrestling, I grew up boxing. So I always kind of had a combative type, way of living. But when I first started martial arts, I was afraid. I was afraid to go there and not so much get beat up, but just be humiliated.
Yeah.
Because martial arts, especially the kind where it is actual live, what we call in judo randori, which is you are really doing it.
Yeah.
You're getting thrown on your head. In jiu-jitsu, you're getting your arms stretched. You're getting choked out. In Muay Thai, the throws are going to come at you. And I was scared. But I finally said, I'm going to win if I just show up. And that was the win. Then the win became if I can hardly hold the steering wheel, meaning I put so much work into it, that was a win.
Yeah.
Then it turned into if my defense is really good, where I last the 5-minute rounds, I don't get tapped out. That was a win. And then it got to if I throw the guy successfully in the gym, if I do great in competition, that's a win. If I do tap out somebody, it's a win, even though we never brag or talk about it. I had that kind of progressive way of looking at the martial arts journey. So the 3 principal ones that I do, and you can add in wrestling because now that's considered a martial art. But my principles are judo, where I'm a black belt, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, where I'm a brown belt, and a practitioner of Muay Thai, where there's really no belts. It's just you just want to get better.
You either get knocked out or you don't.
You either get knocked out or you don't. So those are the 3 that I practice.
I love it. Robert, in full transparency to everyone listening on the podcast, especially you, Josh, I did say to Robert offline, for every time he mentions my book, I will give him $50. So you're at 100 right now, Robert. Keep it up.
Wait. Which book is he mentioning? Confidence is he's even showing it. He's even showing it.
That's an extra 25. So we're
now, as I mentioned to you, I really read.
Holy cow. You know what? He's hitting all the bonus metrics. Of course he is hitting all the bonus metrics.
It's funny. And what I really like
CIA
about the
book, was that a CIA book? Everything's like blacked out of there.
It's redacted. There's a lot of redacted.
It's the files. The files have been released.
Yeah. Finally.
We've been waiting.
What I like about the book is that
200.
I don't read quote unquote self-help books. I like, business books that, teach you a task. Okay. And/or I'm obsessed with biographies. Okay. And I can truly say this book read like an instructional. It read like a vulnerable biography. And when I highlight and when I take notes, it's me having a conversation with the author because you act as my muse. And so what happens is reading you, I start thinking of things. There's a schema of maybe something that I learned in the past. And now a new idea comes up and I respond to you in my own words in the margin. So I'm not repeating verbatim what you wrote, but I internalize it. And then your words become my words and it leads to other thoughts. So I have to tell you that it was one of the most easiest reads, but then I got deep. I got deep into it, the block punch, the move by move for the aerial artist. What does that make me think of? Philippe Petit from The Man on Wire, the man where I remember when he was training, he trained about 2 feet above the ground on this wire. And then he gets to the World Trade Center and shoots a bow and arrow from Trade Center 2 to Trade Center 1. And then he walks across it like 10 times. So the move by move. And then, as you mentioned, the ultra marathoner, it's mile by mile. It's all this incremental improvement, this Japanese Kaizen. And the book, it is a wonderful book where, once again, it read like a biography because you were very vulnerable, which attracts me because I want to listen to people that kind of put themselves out first. And then the anecdotes and the lessons are very effective. You also have a progressive summary throughout it. You repeat a lot. That's how I learn. One of my favorite words from when I was a kid is inculcate or inculcation.
Got that one wrong on the SAT, by the way.
Yeah.
Just totally got that one wrong. I thought it was like a group of trees.
Josh is like, you guys spelled that word wrong. Yes.
Yeah. The reason why I like that word is the Latin origin actually means heel, and then using your heel to like imprint in the dirt. So it's like when somebody has that repetition, you're imprinting on my brain. You're putting a tread on my brain that makes it now I'm walking and living and breathing your book, because now I'm going to take things, apply it to myself, use it when I'm teaching other people, etc. So joking aside, it's a wonderful book.
I appreciate that. I really do. And now I'm broke. I am broke from what I have to pay you because of all these drugs.
Yes,
I am broke.
Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Robert, I do appreciate that. Vulnerability. I think you said vulnerability probably right 3 times in that. Yes. And when I think that one of the things that struck me when we got a chance to have such a nice long dinner together, you know, with your wife and your daughter and kind of our Limitless Minds team about a month or so ago, was just how I think everyone can hear it in how you process is how authentic you make everything that you're trying to live and do. And we heard it in the story from how this happened. When you think about sort of that step-by-step recovery, you wake up in the hospital and you know the path ahead, right? You have a choice to make in that, right? Am I going to be victim or victor? Is it going to be the why me? Why did this happen? I'm this healthy, awesome guy. I'm nice. Why did this happen to me? Or the whole, wow, why me? Why did I survive this? I'm so grateful, right? And then you have a journey ahead of you of recovery, right? You like 35 pounds lighter and you had all this strength. What were those first few days like from a mindset standpoint from you, and how you kind of mentally approached it?
Once again, very thankful. I had so many people visit me. So many people call me. And I know that there are people that, you know, they don't have anybody. You know, for 21 years, I worked with Life Alert, Help I Fall When I Can't.
Yeah.
And throughout that process, I met so many people across all 50 states that had nobody. I mean, and they've had strokes, heart attacks, hard falls, and they had nobody. So I wanted to become that somebody to them. Oftentimes they would call me long after there was any financial relationship, and they would call me and I'd take a few minutes. And so that was drilled into me, realizing somebody always has it worse. And I joke around where when somebody says, "Hey, how you doing? How you feeling?" I said, "Hey, I woke up with no chalk line around my body." You know, it's like, yeah. I try to have that philosophy. I'm not happy all the time, but I do, and it's been reinforced by Limitless Minds. I do, without the definition, without the description, I do have relatively a neutral mindset.
Yeah.
Where if I can't be happy, I at least have to shut my mouth and not utter negativity or bleed on somebody else.
Yeah.
And so that constant thinking of somebody has it worse. I'm disappointed in myself when I have a poor me attitude. I'm disappointed in myself when I act in that way. So I think since I drilled that for so many years, once I started becoming relatively mature, I think I adopted that mindset in my 20s. Now I'm in my late 40s. And that's kind of the way I woke up. I was making fun of myself. Like I said, calling myself Kim Jong-un because I had that funny looking, and just using humor, like saying, "Oh, you know, if I'd say something, listen, I got half a brain," you know, all these things that just to kind of get my mind off it. But I was just genuinely thankful. And then when I started seeing progress, and Denise was very helpful with that. She's always trying to feed me. She would get me a lot of these, smoothies from this place called Pliables that were.
Love me a Pliable. Love Pliables.
It's incredible,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Sell your book, Pliables. Are they a sponsor yet? Are we getting a
Yeah. You know what? Did you have Pliables in the book?
Did I have playables in the book?
Oh,
I don't know, but I should
No,
if I didn't.
I'm just saying. We're always looking for sponsors on
Oh
the
yeah,
We
it's
are.
true. It's true.
You
We
know,
should get them to
it's
sponsor.
Playables,
it started in the East Coast or even down in Florida now on the East
Well,
Coast of Florida, Josh.
in your book, you invited Starbucks to be your
I
sponsor.
did. Still no
Yeah.
call.
No.
Yeah.
Still no call.
You know?
Yeah, venti dreams.
That's right. But it's like, I
So
love
you
that.
were
I
just
love
taking it
those.
like step by step then. Like this is, and it's kind of like, we talk about like success is often just behaviors and habits that you just repeat. We talked about it on the last podcast. Success is boring. Or it's just this, it's just constant improvement and constant movement and keeping going. And that was kind of how you did. We talked about the black belt earlier, and that's how you did that. You had these like little goals that you were going to go achieve, and you achieved them, and you give yourself a little fist pump, and then you would go get the next goal, and it was like constant progress. Is that kind of what happened with your recovery? You're 6 months out right now, Robert, right?
Yes. Yeah. Just about 6 months. Yeah. I'm on the 6th month.
And you're kind of on par of where you're supposed to be.
Yes, I feel that way. But you used a perfect analogy. When I started seeing little progress, when I started gaining weight, I started feeling a little stronger. That was that catalyst that at least it's working. It wasn't motivating because I really needed discipline. I did not want to go to the gym. I did not want to go downstairs and work with my bands that my friend Joey Diaz got for me. He got me these amazing, I think it was called like the Ultra Bow or something. It was like a bulwark.
Not the Bow Flex that we
not
all
the
grew up
bow
on
flex,
in the
not
90s.
what it's called, but it is the most amazing. It's a travel bow that you take apart, and you can put up to 400 pounds of resistance on it. It's incredible. So Joey got it for me when he found out I got approved for light bands, but I never wanted to do it, so I wasn't motivated.
Right.
But I did, basically have some discipline. I started doing it. Started seeing progress. Once again, still not motivated, but the discipline said, okay, it is working. Keep going.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you get that discipline? That's, I think, a great, is that just something, like, what are you telling yourself? Because we always say, hey, talk to yourself versus listen to yourself. Right.
Yeah.
So what are you saying to yourself? Here you are. I'm like, I just do not feel like doing it. Like you didn't feel like going to jiu-jitsu that morning, but you had a conversation with yourself. What types of things are you actually telling yourself to get you to do stuff that you don't, quote unquote, feel like doing? We talk about feelings aren't facts, right? But how do you get past feeling and get into action?
Well, in this area, I have so much room for improvement in a lot of areas as far as discipline. But what I've always applied was I kind of fool myself.
Okay.
I trick myself. So an analogy I always use, or more of an illustration or a true story, I always like to tell people at work, my kids love to come by on Sunday for Sunday sauce. I make an okay Sunday sauce. So they get extremely excited. They love to eat. What they don't like to do is wash the dishes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I get this nasty sink. It's huge. And I don't like a dirty sink, but I'm so overwhelmed by the task and I don't want to do it. So then what I do is I just say, Robert, do 3. Just do 3, buddy. Then go back and watch Red Zone. Do 3. Then I go back to get like some water or something. Hey, while you're here, can you do 3?
Yeah.
Oh, can you do 1 more?
It's gamified.
So it's all gamified. And then what happens is the overwhelming fear of the project by chunking it into small and achievable, actions, then I get it done. I do the same thing with working out. I just say, go down for 2 minutes. Then I'll take a break. It leads to 3 minutes. Then I'll take a break. It leads to, it's all tricking myself. It's like, I also use it like with my investing. I don't want to be a short-term trader because all of the data says long-term is the only thing that really works. So what do? When I log in to my Fidelity, I have my hand over it. I don't want to see the balance. I'm going in there to dollar cost average into the stocks and the ETFs that I want to invest in. I know if I'm paying attention to that fluctuated balance, I might get scared and sell.
Right.
And then that's going to be against what my real goal is. But because of not having control of my emotions, I might make a vital mistake that's going to hurt my family. So I hide the balance and I buy what I want to buy. And it's that continual, and that's, that's how I discipline myself, is I start small.
I love
and
that.
then I look for results. I never feel motivated, but then the discipline stays because I saw a result. But, I worked out early this morning. I was miserable.
So Robert,
the gratitude channel. I was miserable as I was working out. Right, here we go. Gratitude's one of the keys. Apparently, that's good.
Yeah. So the ability to have that neutral mindset, to have that disciplined mindset, to have that micro commitment mindset, and you've been able to demonstrate this not only in your professional life at Johnson & Johnson and all your other work before that, in your athletics and everything that you do. Now, does that come from, when we go back to your childhood a little bit, was it from a person? Was it from an environment? Was it from an experience? Where do you feel that a lot of this comes from?
I would say there's got to be some DNA involved in it. My mother, to this day, is very optimistic, very loving, very supportive, a cheerleader, always positive. Very few times in my life have I ever heard her talk bad about somebody. Now, I had times when I was a child growing up outside of DC and in a kind of a tough crowd, I didn't have that attitude. My who I wanted to be was a tough person.
Yeah.
A popular person. All of these things that were really just a lie. It was a lie. It was leading me in the wrong direction. But being older and looking back at my mother, she never judged me. She let me know when I did wrong, but it was never this belief that when I was going down a wrong road, that it was a permanent journey. I mean, I'm talking a major cheerleader and a person that loved me and still does with absolutely no conditions. And that is the truth.
Yeah.
And then adding to that, my father was a very disciplined person, very kind, but not demonstrative, not a cheerleader, but an example in work ethic and intelligence, I would say. And we would find things that we had in common. And to this day, we still discuss, history. We discuss the stock market, global politics, everything. It's very enjoyable to speak with him. But then I saw him. I remember as a little boy, and we had one car, and he was a stockbroker for Payne Weber and Merrill Lynch. He's got a very nice voice. So he would give the local stock report on the radio. And I remember us picking him up in the early 80s. And then once again, he would get in the front seat and he would drive back. And then he went to the local library and got a book on COBOL and BASIC, taught himself how to program.
Wow.
Got his job with Blue Cross Blue Shield in the middle of DC. He would take me to work on occasion, and he would give me this big boardroom where I could even bring my friends. And I remember having these mock, executive meetings with the whiteboard. To this day, when I smell one of those dry erase markers,
yeah,
I go back to my childhood, because we didn't have it in my home. We had that. We had that at my dad's large building in DC, where he would also take me to the NASA Air and Space Museum in DC. To this day, at 47 years old, when I see Marine One fly over my house, I have this excitement. Why? Because my dad exposed me to these beautiful helicopters and everything.
Yeah.
So I think, once again, even though I had a rough childhood, which was self-imposed because of the people that I wanted to associate with and the way that I wanted to be, but being reflective, I had absolutely wonderful parents, and I still do. They're still with us right now. And so maybe there's some DNA.
Yeah.
There's the becoming optimistic through osmosis. I didn't know I was happy. I didn't know I was grateful. It wasn't planned.
Yeah. It's sort of, that's the environment that you knew, and you had these guardrails around you that were unconditional and supportive and modeling a lot of these behaviors and giving you the freedom to make your choices and make mistakes. Yeah.
They let me be me.
Yeah, I love that. Josh, I have one more question, but if you've got one first, I know we
Well, I
probably.
was kind of curious about, you've had all these passions and, I think this experience that you've had, the coma and coming out of it and the
Yes.
aneurysm and things like that. Has that sparked any kind of like new interest for you, any new passions, anything else that you're like, obviously you're a pretty curious person. You wouldn't stay in martial arts for as long as you have if you weren't. You're always trying to get better. But is there anything that's like kind of exciting for you now that you're kind of getting involved with, or anything new that you're, passionate about?
Yes, I am spreading awareness about aneurysms. I'm spreading awareness. In fact, I'm supposed to give a talk. We have a local YMCA. That's where I work out, and it's huge. It's a bigger YMCA.
Yeah.
And the director said, listen, I want you to give like a little seminar on it. So I'm going to do that on an individual basis. I have been speaking to literally, we're probably in the hundreds already, of letting them know what a brain aneurysm is, the prevalence. There's about 1 out of 50 people have brain aneurysms.
Wow.
Most of the time, if people are feeling persistent headaches or they have a family history, they should go get scanned. With me, I don't remember the last time I had a headache. I had no symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because of family history, I got checked out. So that is a new passion of mine. I'm very, like when I give instructor-led trainings at Johnson & Johnson, I have a bio page. And it says brain aneurysm survivor. And then I go into how that's one of my new whys. So yes, the injury has sparked a new interest, and it's about spreading awareness, closing people to go get tested, to go get scanned, handling any objections. And I think I'm having some success in that area. And it feels good, because another thing that gives me energy is I love serving people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not a people pleaser. I'm not looking for a thank you.
Yeah.
But I do get an energy from knowing internally that my motive is to serve people, and then spread as much of that as possible. And then as a byproduct, I do get some thank yous. I'm not looking for it. It's that difference between being a servant of people and a pleaser of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love
want to
that.
keep honing those
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah. So it sounds like, the biggest thing in terms of autism awareness is really check in. Hey, if you have a family history of this stuff, go get a brain scan. If you are having persistent headaches, so those are two big signs. But how do people, like, how would you go about getting a brain scan? Like what do you got to do? Who do you got to talk to? Neurologist? Like,
Usually your
what do you
primary.
go to? Yeah.
Talk to your primary. Let them know your symptoms. Let them know that you are having psychological stress thinking this is an aneurysm.
Mhm.
Okay.
There are certain things that you have to say to get it approved.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about too.
Yeah, because for me, the fact that I could with good conscience say, I have a family history,
Yeah.
they have to approve it, or they're guilty, as it were,
Yeah.
of like trying to be cheap and saying, well, we're not going to approve it, etc. So if you go down that area of, listen, I'm having persistent headaches, dizziness, I'm afraid, I believe it's causing psychological distress. Can you please just give me a scan to see if I have a brain aneurysm? In most, they have to approve that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but it usually goes through just getting that backup of your primary. Our hospital system, everybody I use is connected. My primary, my surgeon, my neurologist. So each one carries a lot of weight, including my primary. He is greatly respected by all of these specialists. So
yeah,
that's how
those are good. Is there a website or something that people can learn more about this stuff, or anything
yes,
you could promote?
even on Instagram, like the Brain Aneurysm Foundation.
Brain Aneurysm Foundation, just that simple.
Yeah,
perfect.
And then, in fact, I was so blessed when I first came home, and I'm Googling because there's not a lot of resources for people with aneurysms. There's tons for cancer, tons for heart attacks, etc. But I Googled and I found a Forbes article. And this gentleman had wrote, how years ago he was an extreme athlete. He gets a craniotomy because he has an aneurysm, and he dealt with all these fears that it was going to come back and it was going to fail. So what he would purposely do is go out on his mountain bike and work so hard that when the 5-year scan came, he was going to do everything possible to actually make it pop so that when he got that scan, he would know, I'm okay.
Yeah.
During that 5-year period, like my scan's going to be in a year and a half, but back then they waited 5 years after clips and a craniotomy. During that 5-year period, he would get all sorts of anxiety and just tell his wife, I need to go get like a CAT scan, which is not as detailed as the angiogram, but he would do that. Incredible article, very encouraging. So I start just looking for his name. I find him on Instagram. I send him a direct message and I say, listen, I'm a new aneurysm survivor. You inspired me. He sends me his phone number.
Yeah.
And we talk for an hour.
That's great.
And his name was Jonathan Nitti or Anthony Nitti, something. It's Nitti, Nitti. And he was so awesome. He said, Robert, you are going to die, but it is not going to be from an aneurysm.
There you go. There you go.
And he said, you get all these people that say you can't go back to your old life. And sometimes when people just have the coil, which is a really minimally invasive surgery where they simply go through your groin and they put a little coil. If it's a small aneurysm, that's like what my mother has. But that can fall out through rigorous activity. But when you go through a craniotomy and the clips, it's a permanent fix.
Yeah.
And I remember Nitti was saying, Robert, why did we go through all this if we can't go back to being athletes?
Yeah.
He said, don't let anybody tell you you can't go back to who you are and who you want to be. And so he just made me feel so good. And then literally, like when I got to the gym, I pushed it hard.
There you go.
You know, I'm not afraid of the cranial pressure, the intracranial pressure. And I was blessed by finding Mr. Nitti. And, there's one more thing I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
Because it's helped me.
Which is evidence of just sort of your character to begin with, is again that openness, that always learning, that persistence. It's funny. I'm actually, we're recording this today. I'm in my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's home, just doing some work today, and their son, one of their sons, loves insects, and I'm looking at the netting right now where he connects caterpillars. And they go through the entire metamorphosis process right now. Wow. And wow. three butterflies have transformed, as of last night, and a couple more hanging out in cocoons. And I, again, just thinking of that transformation process from one form into the goo state, into the transformation of the butterfly. There is no shortcut without going through that goo, the goo of transformation. And that's just right. Thinking about what this last 6 months or so have been for you, Robert, right? Just, I'm sure you're still processing the transformation, but clearly you are not the person you were before the aneurysm. And, so that transformation, I know, is going to continue to evolve. What we like to do now, Robert, as sort of a gift to our guests, this is the Success Leaves Clues podcast.
Wait a second. Hold on. Wait, you had one more question before we do that.
He answered it. I wanted to hear about.
Did I steal the question? Did I steal the question?
Yeah,
because that was my whole goal, was to steal your question.
You did. It's okay. And forgiveness is big, and I've already forgiven you.
Already.
Appreciate it. Seeing as it's the week of Yom Kippur, it's great. I'm already atoning for everything, anyways. It's all good.
Yes,
it's all good. That's
so Robert,
what I will say, Josh, is when you mention God, man plans and God laughs. God laughs. I learned that in Yiddish, which was let me see if I can remember. Der Mensch tragt und Gott lacht.
There you go.
Which means man makes plans and God laughs.
Yeah,
and like you said, you reminded me just now by saying the week of Yom Kippur. It's like, we all have, irrespective of our religious background or whether we're atheists or anything, but we have a moral code. We all have things to atone for and that improve.
Yep.
It's a beautiful way of living. And so forgiveness is a wonderful thing, Travis and Josh.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for forgiving me.
Well, Robert, I knew once we talked that we needed to have you on the podcast, and I don't think I was wrong. So Josh, here's the clues that we heard, Robert.
Yes.
that Josh and I heard. Success leaves clues. These are clues that they are specific to Robert, but they are applicable to anyone that is listening to this podcast. So it's not going to be a shocker to anyone. The one that stands out to me, Josh, Robert, as far as just a key behavior and mindset to your success through life is gratitude, right? You started this entire interview with gratitude, and how many people wake up and go through that experience and their response is, I'm just so grateful. And that is such a powerful mindset tool. And so that's the first one that comes to me, Josh, is gratitude. What do you got?
Yeah, I think the thing that jumped out for me, again, this has been a recurring theme, is and I was joking about the CIA earlier, and it reminded me of Holly Softa and her podcast, but do it scared. Robert talked about going into jiu-jitsu classes or going into Muay Thai class, and he was scared. What's going to happen to me here, but I'm going to still do it, and I'm going to still walk forward. And I think it's a little bit, courage can also be seen as not giving a crap about how you feel, but knowing what you got to get done and doing it anyways. And so, come up with some good systems. I'm just going to do 2 dishes. Right. Yeah. I'm just going to do 5 reps. Okay. I'm going to do 10 minutes, whatever it is, those work, but it's a testament to your courage, because if you didn't have the courage, you wouldn't even come up with that plan to get over your feelings. So that's a big thing that jumped out at me.
All right. And this is my last one, is servitude. You said service, you said servitude. It showed up with you taking over the class and serving that class, sacrificing yourself to serve that class. And with you coming out of this experience and seeing an opportunity to want to help and serve others, to use your experience in your life to bless others in the process as well. And like you said, it's not a people pleasing, but that service mindset is, and I know from everything that I've heard that it is a big part it's a big part of who you show up at Johnson & Johnson as well. And so clearly service is a major clue. Josh?
Last one is, he's got great taste, obviously, in literary taste. He's got a spectacular literary taste, and choosing the book Confidence is Overrated.
Well, I mean, you said it, not me.
That was I'm just trying to make, I'm a toning.
It is an absolutely wonderful book. I recommend everybody to read it. And I'm gonna keep going through it, because, as I mentioned with inculcation, it's about the repetition, because new ideas, you get the muse, things just pop up.
Yeah.
And so it's a wonderful book. I'm thankful that I have it. I don't know if I have a signed copy. Next time I see you, Travis, I'm going to get you to sign my worn out copy, which you're going to see all my notes.
Love it. So that is a deal for sure. I have heard that I've amused people before, Robert, but never amused to people.
Great pun.
So
great pun, but
highly honored.
You're my muse.
I had to get that joke in here.
Thank you, Robert. We're super grateful for your time. Super grateful for your vulnerability and heart that you shared in sharing your story. And I know it's going to continue to bless so many people as a result. And Josh, take us out.
Yeah, you don't have to be sick to get better. Thanks for listening to the Limitless Minds podcast. You can find us at limitlessminds.com or on all the socials.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.